It is Coast to Coast. We are coming to you from our brand new recording studio. Wouldn't believe it. We've got authority to work in this space about 3 days out before we go on the Gold Coast hub. So, awesome work we finally got here, but we've got one session only, so your ears will be harmoniously sung to with the soothing sounds of myself, Will Schofield, your host and co-host, Oscar Allen. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. You're right. This is a different feel. We've had a bit of a glow up, shall we say, from a hotel room in the Gold Coast initially to one of our sleep rooms, which is no longer in operation at the club, to upstairs in our own recording studio. It feels great to be here.
It sounds great to be here. It really does.
It's gonna, the bad thing about this, it sounds so good now, and then in 5 days when we go away, it's gonna sound like again.
Maybe we can pack this whole thing up, take it to the Gold Coast hub with us.
Let's do it. Thumper, get on it, please.
Okay, Steve Bandy, you have been ordered. How'd the game go on the weekend, mate? We probably should start with some footy.
Yeah.
How did you see it against the mighty Hawks?
Yeah, probably for the first time this year we jumped aside, which was a pleasing result. We're up by 4 goals at quarter time, and with rain, it looked like it was going to rain heavy, and it didn't really come down that much, but we were always in control, which is nice. And yeah, got over the line by about 30 points. Probably a little bit sloppy at times, but do what we needed to do.
It felt like at stages, it looked like at stages I don't know, it felt like we had a lot of dominance in that game, and the scoreboard at times wasn't showing it. How does that feel out in the ground when you can feel you're on top of a side, but you potentially aren't putting it through on the scoreboard? Are you still up and about feeling confident, or is it weigh on your mind a little bit as a forward?
Good point. Obviously confident, but just frustrating at times. I think we're a pretty predictable side, and we went away from that a couple of times. A couple of silly turnovers, and the goals they kicked were pretty easy goals. There were a couple just like random crumbs and over the backs. But interestingly enough, they had just as many inside 50s as us, I think, over the day. Early in the day, they had a lot more than us, so big kudos to our backs. Obviously, Gov came back. He played really well, and the combination with him and TB were pretty strong on the weekend. I think they had something like 17 marks. And
Something like 17 marks,
exactly. And the boys, the whole back six was pretty good on the weekend.
TB had a lot of the ball. He's, a defensive player first, a little bit. Well, let's say he's just a better version of Schofield. Effectively, he can mark the ball in contested situations and do a fair bit more than Schofield can. But he found his fair share on the weekend, and I agree. The back line did look good, functioning well. It is always difficult when a player like a McGovern comes back into the team, and you've got he's a big force. He does things that not a lot of other guys do. So those intercept marks, the way he plays, it potentially changes the way our chemistry works in the back line, but I thought the boys handled it pretty well. Interesting
discussion point. TB, I believe, going into the game, led the AFL in spoils per game.
There you average. Go. I like that a lot.
He had 9 marks on the weekend, and he normally has 10 to 15 spoils a game. Because he marked the ball so much, he only had 4 or 5 spoils on the weekend, and I think he dropped down. So
he's probably costing him a spot in that coveted, let's call it, section of 1%ers.
Yeah, well, it's on the back page, the front cover, who's leading the spoils in the AFL has been covered.
Is it just spoils? So there is a 1%er stat by Champion Data, which I will let you know exclusively I won in about 2012, 13.
Really? That's really good.
It was between myself and, having massive mental blank, Western Bulldogs, Dale Morris.
Dale Morris, yeah.
Dale Morris and Will Schofield head-to-head all year. Needed to catch him by 8 in the last round. I had 14 spoils and 1. Look it up.
So 1%ers, spoils, smothers, knock-ons?
Not knock-ons. Spoils, smothers, I believe, shepherds.
Ooh.
Yes.
I wonder how many there are.
Look,
gone out of the game shepherding.
You judge for yourself how important that is to a team. If no one's doing that, then what's happening? You got a bunch of guys running around chasing the footy. Might as well be playing Auskick.
There's one stat I led in the AFL last year. Can you tell me what it was?
Weirdest looking head.
Free kicks for differential, positive.
Really?
I got 45 more free kicks last year than I gave away.
Differential?
Yeah. Me and Ben Brown were tied first, I believe, at the end of the season.
How many did you give away? Do you know the numbers?
No, I don't. All I know is I had 45 more than I gave away.
See, we love stats like this. 1% king over here and
free kick
differential king over there.
The flopper.
So let's get back to Hawthorn West Coast. Had a debutant, Nick Reid, first game. We spoke a bit about him as a bloke, as a footballer. How did he fit into the team? And tell me your thoughts on his first goal.
Yeah, he fits in pretty well. He's obviously a talented player. Someone who's been in and around the traps for quite a long time. I think he said he almost played 100 games of A-grade footy for North Beach and a proven performer at that level. Came into the Waffle side last year and was really strong as a small forward/hybrid type player. I think he led our Waffle goal kicking and then had shoulder surgery this off-season and really earned his spot on the weekend and got given one by JD, which is very nice.
I actually like that.
You liked it?
I do like it.
Talk to me about it. Close game. Do you still do it?
Nah, that's why I like it, because kicking a goal in your first game, as you can see from the reaction of the boys around, it means a lot to the team. First game of kicking a goal. Jack would have kicked that goal.
Yeah, it's 20 out straight in front.
100%. So giving that off was team, all team, nothing about Jack, and I love that, especially from forwards, because we know you blokes, and I'm calling it you blokes. You can get a little bit me.
Yeah, at times. Speaking of me, did you catch the celebration afterwards?
No.
So Jack's taken a mark, handballed it to him, and everyone's thinking team. We actually talked at three-quarter time as a forward line saying if we get one, just give it off to Dossie. And
Right.
Dossie's gone, gimme, which...
Me.
Yeah, give it to me, which I understand. I'm happy for him to do that. Kicks the goal, doesn't get around Jack, turns to the crowd and gives him the double Cobra, come on, get around me, everyone.
He did, yeah.
And I was thinking,
It was a photo opportunity for Nick.
Thankfully, I was the first one there, so I was on the back page of the West Australian as well, so thank you for that, Nick.
Well, let's just make sure you remind him during the week about being a team player.
Yeah, that's important. The thing is, after he kicked his first one, he was very keen to get back on the scoreboard, which we love, but Nick performed well. I think one thing that'll play to his hand is his defensive pressure was really good. He started off the game chasing down maybe O'Meara or Shields, and that's what his role in the side's about, defensive pressure and playing a role for the team.
Another player that impressed me was Flying Ryan. I think he's probably just been building all season, continually getting better. I think he probably started a little bit inconsistently at the start of the year. Well, post-COVID shutdown, which, got to be honest, not really unexpected, given the change in training routine and the way we were preparing. It's not like he's been doing for the last couple of years. So I think he's been building, and it was his best game of the year. I thought he's number one in goal assists for West Coast Eagles. So he's coming along nicely, and he does things that no one else can.
Yeah, he's got sticky mitts. For someone at his size, he's so hard to play on. I'd hate to play on him because he's lightning quick, so you can't put an overly tall player. I know you played on him a little bit.
Yeah, I have.
Because you're quick. You are quick
Yeah.
for your size.
Yeah, but you know what? It took mark of the year on my head twice.
Which is exactly the reason why you don't want to be stuck on him, because he can beat you at the ground, beat you in the air.
He's a scary player.
He's only his third year in the AFL, and he is so good.
Our forward line is scary. I was actually thinking about it watching the game if I had to prepare to play our forward line. So you've got Kennedy and Darling. Who do you put your best defender on out of those two? Because it's likely the other one lights up, to be honest.
JD being a little bit smaller than JK, and JK's last month of footy being pretty freakish. I put one on JK just because he plays deeper as well.
Yeah, so I think the opposite. So you think that? I think JD. So that's the trouble. If you're an Oppo coach, Oppo player, I think JD, maybe a bit smaller, but he can be just as influential, if not more. So you need two good defenders to play on those two guys. Then you've got no Jake Wardham in the team, but it was more when I was looking at you and Jake. You got to play a tall on both of you guys. I think that's the third best defender potentially, which is worrying as a backline opposition coach. And then what are you doing with Flying Ryan? And then
then you've got Cripper, the best higher forward in the AFL.
I would think so.
Running some crazy patterns.
He's got to be one of the most underappreciated players in the AFL.
He's second in the AFL for pressure acts.
Right.
And the rest of the top 20 are all midfielders, which says a little bit about what he does.
Yeah. So he plays a role in our team, high half forward. That's no surprise. We're not going to go into, I guess, details, but he plays a role in our team that not a lot of other people can. And he would be close to first picked in our team every week. I honestly think he'd be first picked if he get picked before Nick Nat.
I think best and fairest nights are good because it's not just Brownlow medals, coaches awards, and I think in a premiership year he came third, which is a huge.
Enough said.
Yeah. Injury front, we've been hit with the stick the last week or so.
Before we get to injuries, I did want to say Brad Shepherd's kicked another goal.
Oh no.
He's moved up. He's moved up 178 spots in the Compartment medal race to 232nd.
That's the fourth time I've heard that, and the other three are from Brad himself.
That does not surprise me, Brad. That's enough said about that as well. We don't need to talk about that.
No, well done.
Because he's somehow luckily found himself inside 50, holding the ball, and he's kicked a set shot, which are all luck. I've touched on that. We won't need to touch on that again.
No.
But he has proven my point, all luck, because he had his eyes closed when he kicked that.
Okay, so he's kicked 2 goals in the last 2 weeks. He's also kicked 2 goals in the last 80-odd games. So
Injuries, tell me.
well done.
What's happened? Is it the time of the year?
We've had, we've had 10 rounds in a row, basically.
Yep.
So normally this time of the season, in a regular season, I reckon percentage-wise it's probably a little bit more on the injury front, and this has happened the same again. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a smaller list than other clubs to do with, obviously, Willie's ongoing, whatever that is, and Venner's as well.
Yep.
Obviously, with his concussion, he's not a part of the team this year. So already 2 short. And then Jermaine Jones, unfortunately, re-injured the same hamstring, and I believe they put a line through him for the season.
Yep.
Yowie.
That were 3 small forwards you just mentioned there.
Yeah, which probably, again, Nick Reid coming in and making the best out of a good opportunity.
Yep.
Good on him. Yowie has been spoken about. He's got a little bit of osteitis pubis symptoms.
I actually diagnosed him. Funny
Really?
story. Yep. So we were doing rehab together. I've had a sore elbow. I had surgery on Monday.
How you feeling?
Feel good.
You off all the painkillers or?
Didn't really have them. Yeah, I was put under general anaesthetic, so that's when you get knocked out. It was a relatively delicate surgery given the nerves around the elbow, but they just need to take a bit of bone out. Pretty common procedure per se. It's like a knee scope, but on your elbow, and should be running and training and playing. I'll be available next week.
Wow.
So ideally.
It's a great turnaround.
But I was doing rehab with Yowie. They were just sort of trying to, he'd been pulling up sore from games. They're trying to figure out what was going on, and he was telling me how he felt. And then at the end of it, he said, "Yeah, this is what I've got. This is what I've been told I've got." I said, "No way, you have osteitis pubis." OP, which is a injury that has been completely forgotten about. You wouldn't even know about this because you may not have been alive.
All I can remember is Juddy one year had OP.
Juddy had OP in 2007, and that was 2006, 2007 was peak OP season. It was the most popular injury. It was fashionable. Everyone wanted it.
It was a 2018 syndesmosis.
That's it. So that is out of fashion now, and no one talks about it. But it appears that's sort of, it's in that groin area. OP traditionally it's a departure of a little, I'm going to call it a tendon, but that's not what it medically called, but it's in between your hip bones, and it's this tiny little thing, I'm going to call it a tendon again, that sort of gets frayed or teared, or if you tear it completely, you're done, like season over. But if you have sort of weakening of it, which I think is what Yowie got, you can improve it quite quickly. So he's looking on the mend, but it's just hard to say when he's going to be back. He could be next week. He could be 5 weeks, as Simo said. That's not from Will Schofield. That's from Adam Simpson. So our fingers are crossed he's back earlier than later, correct?
Yep, perfect. Next, Jakey Waterman hurt his hand last Thursday. I'm not really sure how it happened, but pulled up sore after training and then came to me saying, I think I hurt my hand. I said, you'll be right. And then called me an hour later. I'm in for surgery on Monday. Sitting next to W. Schofield.
Mine was a planned visit with the surgeon, and then it was decided I needed surgery. And he came off the track straight to the surgery and was meeting with the surgeon directly after me. And then we roomed next to each other in the hospital.
How was that experience?
I didn't see him once. I was an overnight patient. He was in and out. So
Really?
Fingers crossed for Jakey. These are all injuries that are footy injuries. None of them are kind of, how did that happen? These are things that happen year to year. People break their hands. People get scopes on knees, elbows, shoulders. People get sore groins. I don't think it's necessarily anyone's fault. Player, medical staff, sports science. If we went through seasons with no one getting injured, the people would be very happy, and it never happens. So it's up to the medical and sports science team to manage players through this sort of stuff and to create a program that works on injury prevention and limits time out of the game, because ideally you want the best squad on the park, but it's never going to happen. So the best team in the Premiers usually are the teams that, one, are more consistent with their footy and can limit injuries. It's a factor. If you can have your stars out there more often than not, you're going to win more games.
S&C stuff, one of the toughest jobs gone around in the business.
S&C, sports and conditioning, just in case you're following along at home.
Sports and conditioning stuff.
No, you can call it S&C. I'm just wondering if people knew it or not.
Getting fingers pointed at, like, any injury.
Well, it's their job,
yeah,
so it's fair enough. But also,
some things...
Jake Waterman,
life happens.
broken hand.
Life happens.
Will Schofield, old elbow.
Old man.
Reddo's hurt leg of some description.
Yeah.
Potentially old injury.
Old injury. Hopefully only a week or so. Skim past it.
I feel like Simo spoke about this in the press conference, so we can actually go into a little bit of depth with Vards.
Yeah.
So he hurt himself in the scrimmage. We had a scrimmage against Hawthorn, which we can speak about this now. This will be the last injury we speak about, tied into scrimmage. So scrimmage was interesting on the weekend. I went down, I coached the back line, didn't play this week. We started with about 11 players.
Yep.
And I think Hawthorn gave us maybe 3. So it was about 14 on 14. They had 17, I think. They were a pretty healthy list. We ended the game with 6 West Coast players.
That's tough to take.
And maybe 6 or 7 Hawthorn players on our team. So it wasn't the most ideal. We had, Vards went down with a corky, which was just thought to be a normal corky. Again, footy injury happens. He went home, found himself in more pain than usual for a corky, and started swelling up quite badly, rang the doctor, straight to hospital. Compartment syndrome, which is effectively where a muscle will bleed in between layers. You think about your legs, got layers of muscle, layers of fat, layers of skin. The blood gets into a layer, can't get out, kills your muscle in your leg, and you can lose your leg. They have to cut your leg off.
Crazy. It's a crazy treatment as well. I believe they just cut a huge line in your leg, just split the skin, let the muscle kind of ooze out, and they leave it open for a number of days.
Yeah, they put a drain in it. So it's like
crazy.
It's one of those ones that get described as a car accident injury. Matt Rosa had it probably 5 years ago here. He's got a scar from the top of his knee to the top of his hip the whole way down his leg. If you saw photos of the Vards injury, it's absolutely horrific. And it came from an injury that is regular. You get big hits on your legs, and we're hoping the best for Vards. He's not in a great way at the moment. He's got a massive hole in his leg. Not exactly the way you want to finish a year if that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Thoughts out with him.
Hi, Josh Kennedy here. You're listening to the Coast to Coast podcast hosted by Will Schofield and Oscar Allen.
Yes, you are on Coast to Coast. We're coming from the brand new recording studio here at West Coast Eagles headquarters in Lathlane. It seriously has been relatively unused. It was operational last year. I think some of the AFLW girls were using it for a podcast of theirs, and we haven't been able to use it this year. AFL protocol, it's been difficult. We've finally got approval. We leave for Gold Coast in 3 days. So this will be the first and last of the year, potentially. I don't know what's happening for the rest of the year, but we're going to Gold Coast. I know that, on Tuesday. It's great to be here. You're on Coast to Coast. Will Schofield, Oscar Allen. Oscar, are you happy with your time here in the recording studio so far?
Yeah, I'm trying to milk it as much as I can. I mean, this might be my one time in this studio. It might get axed from the podcast. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Who would we bring in if you were axed? We had our first player request to come on the podcast.
Let me frankly say he is not coming on the podcast.
Yeah, look, let's be honest. He's not. We flat out denied it as soon as the request came through.
His name, one of the best ads ever, Callum Jamieson.
Yes. Why is it what? One of the best ads ever. What does that mean?
Have you seen the ad where they're on a boys trip? I believe it's Carlton draft, and he goes, Michael Jamieson.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They say Michael Jamieson.
They say Michael Jamieson.
As in the Carlton player.
As in the Carlton player, but it's just someone else who's his best mate. And they go, Michael Jamieson, how are you? So Michael Jamieson, Callum Jamieson.
Okay.
But
you might have seen Callum. He starred in such movies as when he surfed with Mick Fanning over in Gold Coast first up. Very good surfer, Cal.
Unbelievable. Like, could have gone pro.
Yeah, he could have gone pro. Best surfer on the list. Potentially the worst podcast apprentice at the club. He's not getting on this podcast.
Yeah, he's a long way down the number list.
Hamish Brayshaw would be first in for you.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you ain't getting rid of me.
So, next up, we play the Giants here in Perth. We play them Sunday, I believe.
Yep, Sunday afternoon, 4:10.
They lost to Sydney on the weekend.
Yep.
They wouldn't have been happy with how they played. In fact, I'm almost positive that's been made public. Always interesting playing a good team, because that's what they are. They're a good team.
Really good team.
Playing a good team off a bad loss, I think, over my time playing in the AFL. I think sometimes that's the biggest challenge, is playing a good team off a bad loss, because good teams don't often play poorly twice in a row.
Yeah, this year as well especially makes it tough because teams are in hubs and you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes if players are struggling, missing their partners. So, I mean, you got to be prepared every game for a different team to roll out. Obviously, with personnel, with shortened breaks, they can play different players, but also with attitude and mindset.
Spoke about that roller coaster.
Yeah,
like
up and down.
Yeah. You're going to have stages where you're right on top of things and you're dominating, and some of the teams that are playing well at the moment are at the top of that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Potentially the Giants had a dip, but I don't think that's long lasting.
I think it's been looked into too much. They've won 3 of their last 4, and they've beaten Collingwood, Richmond and Geelong this year. 3 of the very, very good sides. So ready for a big competition and big contest on the weekend.
Potentially the last game at Optus Stadium.
Yeah, sad.
Sad?
Sad because I like playing personally in front of my family. I like seeing them after the game, move back in home with my mum and dad. So I've enjoyed spending a bit of time with them, but also I'm in a different boat to you. Obviously, you've got a partner and a child, Nashi.
Yes.
I've got a partner, but
you're the child.
Yeah, I am the child that she looks after me.
Yes.
I'm happy to go away and I'm looking forward to it. I love footy, and the situation we've got over there is pretty good in terms of 24/7 access to gyms, ovals. So last time I loved just going out in the oval at 10 o'clock at night and kicking goals. I'm excited.
You do that in the hub. You were doing it last time.
Bit weird.
Yeah, but it worked.
Yeah.
Would you say your percentage? So we're talking about Oscar last time in the hub. You'd be having dinner about 7:30, and you look out on our little training oval we had over there, and Oscar would be out there kicking goals in the wet dew. Mm-hmm. Is that why you're doing it? It's a bit different, right?
Yeah.
Conditions.
Yeah, get used to, and we play late, like night games in Perth at 5:10, night games on the Gold Coast. Like we've got games starting at our next month. When we get over there, our 4 games are starting at 8:10, 7:10, 6:10, 8:10. So get used to playing late at night.
Last game at Optus, as we mentioned, how will that affect things playing wise? Will that affect things? You say you like playing in front of your family and post match. Do you think it'll affect our style of play? Do you think it'll affect how players go about it? Will we do things differently, or will we have learnt things from the first time around and be better than we were in the first time around?
Planning to be better. I think we know now we're a mature group and we're really process based. And we probably went away from our processes and thought last time, we're away, maybe we'll do a little bit less meetings, a little bit more football time, give the boys more time to themselves. I think we realised that wasn't the best way to go, and we should really crack in on our craft and skills and really enjoy being around each other. So another reason I'm excited to get over there, living with 45 boys. Boys trip, hang out with the lads. Obviously, we're there for a reason, and that's to win as many games as we can and go in deep into the season as possible, but also enjoy yourself while you're there. Take some time to smell the roses and enjoy this time away.
We're going to approach it. I'm looking forward to it more this time around than I was the first time, just given the fact you're able to learn from the first experience. I think we're going to do a few things not a lot differently. We are going to do things differently. I think probably just being more scheduled with what we were doing. I think we're a little bit apprehensive to start off with. We're one of the first teams to go away and be in a hub. How much footy do we give the boys? I think we actually operate better with a bit more structure, get some footy in our face, talk footy, live footy, and then you can have your breaks. You still have your breaks. You still get your time to yourself. But I think just having that set structure and knowing what to expect, we're going to be a lot better off this time around. Let's talk about around the AFL at the moment, Oscar. How the AFL landscape's going to look going forward. So past this year, going to put our little time machines on. How does it look for the younger generations coming up through the game with so many changes outside of the AFL? So yes, there's a lot of different things changing with the AFL. We're all in hubs. We're living by AFL protocols. But let's look about how COVID is actually affecting, especially the under-18s, this next draft crop. I think it's going to affect things massively.
Yes.
They haven't had a TAC Cup over there. What do they call it now in Victoria? WA has still had Colts running.
Yep, it does.
SA would have. New South Wales, Queensland, probably inconsistent. Victoria's been completely shut down. Some of these kids will be playing off nothing at all. They don't have school footy. They don't have development teams. I think it's going to be very different draft this year because of it.
Yeah, recruiters are going to be earning their money. That's one thing for sure.
How do you know what a kid looks like?
Yeah.
As in their final year as a junior and you don't see any of their footy.
For instance, for me, a year like this, so I was fortunate when in my draft year I put together a pretty solid carnival and
I won
the best player in the
right. So it's pretty solid, yeah.
Yeah, so I put together an all right carnival, but going into the carnival, I wasn't a part of any state team.
Right.
So no 16s, no underage 18s.
Welcome to the club.
I wasn't AIS. Without my draft year, I probably don't get drafted. Like if I'm just playing waffle footy and playing Colts and playing pretty well, I'm a touch and go draft pick.
Right.
Got me to a stage where I was going to get picked up. One thing as well that will be interesting is with all the unknown about potential list sizes, how many kids get drafted this year? So we often see 80 to 100 taken in the AFL draft plus rookie draft.
Yeah.
I reckon there's not many more than 40 to 45 kids that get drafted, so the creme de la creme.
Well, we're starting to see a lot of talk about soft cap reduction, which is to do with footy department spend, which is coaches, sports science, that sort of stuff. But we're starting to see a lot of talk about a salary cap reduction in what you pay players. So if that goes down, probably, if you work it the right way, you're looking at some of the bottom players on the list come off. So potentially Cap B rookies, do they exist anymore?
Well, Cap B rookies are part of soft cap.
Right.
So they're not salary cap. So Cap B rookies, if you have a Cap B rookie, which is someone, say, a basketballer.
Patrick Bynes.
So they have to have not played AFL for 2 or more years, come into the club as a player. If you pay them, say you give them rookie wages, you're hiring them instead of another S&C staff or another development coach.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting from list size, interesting from salary cap. I still think the biggest thing is, like you said, if you don't play in the final year of footy, does it then turn into younger guys potentially opting out of the draft and looking to play senior footy in a state league before they take a jump to the AFL? Like, is it too big of a jump to go from 16 years old playing against kids, missing a year of footy and then coming out the other end? Do you see more guys code hop?
Yeah, well, think about this might be a great opportunity for the AFL to implement you can't be drafted till you're 19.
Oh,
that's a big smoky I've just thrown out there and makes a bit of sense.
Yeah.
But think about if a lot of the top-end talent
if you're ever going to change the rule, it's this
now.
year.
And that's actually a good point.
There's a lot of things happening like that.
Think
a national reserves team.
I like that.
Right? If that's ever going to happen, it's probably the year to look at it this year. Back-to-back games like they've been able to put in the schedule this year. If you're ever going to do that in following years and use this year as a practice year, I mean, it's been quite successful back-to-back footy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that's going to change in this game at this footy club in the industry forever, and that's media. That's at close level, footy departments. There's going to be widespread changes off the back of this year.
One of the more interesting points, we're talking about this year being affected. This will have a butterfly effect. So say 40 kids that were going to get drafted this year don't get drafted.
Yes.
So they opt out, whatever. They then play a good year and get drafted next year as an overager, which means next year's crop, only the very best get drafted.
Yes.
And it continues to go down the line. So there's going to be a huge effect, and I am really interested to see what it does to the landscape of AFL football.
Second topic. That's first topic. Second topic. Tell me about it.
Best kick in the AFL.
Best kick in the AFL.
Who is the best kick in the AFL?
Be more specific, please, because that could mean anything. Like kick a goal, kick one kick in a game, most kicks, most consistent, most aggressive. What are you talking about here? That question is just, we've talked about this off air.
It's an open-ended question.
Right. What's your answer to who's the best kick in the AFL?
So
don't make something different up. Tell me who the best kick is.
I was influenced by a video I was sent by a close friend, Josh Smith, on social media.
Ex-West Coast Eagle, ex-Collingwood Football Club.
Ex-AFL player.
Yes.
Full-time good bloke.
Yep.
And he sent me a video of Caleb Daniels' kicks.
Right.
And there's a Twitter page called Caleb Daniels Kicks.
Yep.
And they post his kicks from the weekend, and I reckon he has got exquisite foot skills.
Okay, so you're saying he's the best kick in the AFL?
Yeah. And you disagree because list him off. I reckon there's 5 or 6 reasons.
I'll tell you why he's not. Caleb Daniel is a very efficient and very important part of the Western Bulldogs. So this is not sledge Caleb Daniel. It's just sledge you, Oscar Allen.
Perfect.
I don't think Caleb's got a massively long kick, so potentially at times it's not as game-breaking as a longer kick would be. He's consistent. Let's say I would agree and say he's the most consistent, one of, if not the most consistent kick in the AFL.
Him or Shannon Hearn?
Yeah, Shannon's getting old though, let's be honest. And bald. Very bald.
Very bald.
My answer to who's the best kick is Lewis Jetta. And it came off the back of my chat about him being the most influential player I've played at this football club. And that is because of what he's been able to do with some of his teammates, but it's to do with his kick. And if I had the footy in someone's hand, this is how I judge best kick. Ball in hand, need to make something happen to win a game. It doesn't mean last minute of the game has to, but I think at any time in the game needs to make something happen. Lewis Jetta. He can kick a 60-metre kick through the corridor over 20 people's head and lay someone out on the nose. I don't think Caleb has the same skills.
Yeah, I don't think he can do that.
Jets may miss more kicks than Caleb.
But it's live and die by the sword.
Yes.
How much benefit do you want out of it? If you guys have an opinion out there, message us on social media. Scully and I will talk about it next week. Don't you worry.
We'd love to hear who the best kick is. Ideally, we'd have live talk back right now.
Yeah.
And you'd be calling in and we'd have Craig from Craigieburn calling in.
Give us your thoughts.
Yes. Or Dave from Dandenong, which is apparently on the coast. Let's just cover that off. It is not on the coast.
So, spoke to Bailey Williams. He played for Dandenong, but he lived on the coast.
Right.
So, technically right, technically wrong.
Okay. So, you still have no idea about geography.
No. Any other questions you guys have for us as well, make sure to reach out for us.
Yeah, I'd like to answer more analytical questions.
Yeah.
Like we did some questions last week, and I'm just going to be honest, I thought it was a bit back chatty. And I realise there's some back chat listeners, and back chat will always be at the top of the podium. It will never be dislodged by Coast to Coast, ever. Can't be.
Damn.
Won't be. Ever.
Damn.
But it was a bit social media, which I loved. I do love social media, but we'd like to hash some stuff out from an analytical, bit more serious footy chat. You've got a young mind, an old mind. Let's talk some stuff through.
Yeah, we got a balance. We got some young naivety.
We don't want to talk about
wisdom.
ourselves
No.
for 40 minutes.
No, I don't want to talk about this and that, and I like to talk about
Let's pick something apart.
Yeah, anything. Obscure, not obscure. Let's do it.
We've got a team meeting to go to. I believe we're watching some training, potentially a bit of Oppo stuff. This has been Coast to Coast, Will Schofield and
Oscar Allen.
It's been fun. It's been real. It's been high quality. And you probably won't have that for the rest of the year. So hope you enjoyed this high quality session.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Bye-bye.